Right, today I'm going to talk about why I quit my job at one of the big four firms in London, aside from, the trivial aspects such as taking the tube when it's packed. There are two main reasons. Number one is learning, and number two is the people. So, number one is at this age, it's more about learning than it is about earning. Okay, so it's learn before you earn, right? You can't just go and build $1 million company because if you knew how to do it, then, well, you would. So, you need to become the person who can, who's got the skills. It's about acquiring the skills, it's about the beliefs as well, which I'm not going to go into in this video. And I wanted to start a business with the knowledge I had, right? I had some sort of knowledge in accounting, but I needed the skills, I needed to learn tax. And I thought, what better place than, you know, one of the biggest accounting companies in the world. And to be fair, I didn't exactly choose to go there. Like my mum made me apply to one of these companies. I got in, so I just took it. But I was like, okay, I'm going here. This can actually help me learn something more that I can put towards a business. So that's what I did. That's what my plan was. But it turns out I wasn't really learning much. Like the training sessions that they made us do, they were very helpful. But the day-to-day job didn't really teach me much. Like a lot of things I learned alone. So tax residencies, for example, permanent establishments, company structures, I learned alone. And my end goal obviously was to run my own business. I wanted to learn things that I could carry over onto my business, right? Knowledge that I could carry forward into this new venture. But the thing is, in my team, right, I was helping financial institutions, so like banks and investment companies, comply with reporting obligations. So basically, imagine thousands of foreign people who have accounts with a domestic bank. Imagine you're in the UK, let's take Barclays, for example, or Halifax or whatever. There are plenty of accounts holders in Barclays, like with Barclays, that are not British, okay? And what we were doing is we were helping the that UK bank, that Barclays, report all these foreign people's bank accounts to their home countries. So I understood the concept, but it was stuff that it was going to take me tens of years to learn how to do myself. Like, as a beginner entrepreneur, I was never going to be able to help banks. Like, my first business was never going to be me helping banks. Like, how am I going to get the trust of a bank? And even if I do, then how am I going to deliver on this kind of work? It's almost impossible. So the company as well, they had very expensive software to file these reports. Like, it was never going to work. Like, I understood the concept, but I was never going to be able to do it myself. So what happened is I found myself coasting. So I had all this energy and time that I wanted to use and channel towards a project, and I didn't have a place to put all this energy and this time. I didn't have any interest in wasting 2 hours of my afternoon to take on, another proofread of a document. Like, for what? So I would coast. I would do what was necessary. I would do it well. I would actively try to take on projects that actually did teach me new stuff. But most of the time, it was coasting. I'm not going to lie. And I heard someone, I think it was Alex Hormozy, of course it was him, talking about push, pivot, and coast. So basically, at any stage in your career or in the business or some venture, you can either push. There's a wall, there's an obstacle, and you can decide to work and push through it and try to push through it. Or if you think it's too big, you're not going to surpass it, you're not going to break it, then you pivot. Okay, and these are the only two things that you should be doing. Or what you're not doing, if you're doing one of these two things, is you're coasting. Okay. So you're just basically going with the flow and just letting life and work happen to you. So when I heard this thing, I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm coasting. And That's when I was 100% certain of quitting my job. And maybe in hindsight, it was just a wrong tax niche. Maybe something simpler or that I was more interested in, such as private capital, where you're advising individuals on the best way to set up the company, to keep their money, to minimize tax spend, how to take the money out, and all these things would have been better. I would have been a lot more engaged. Maybe, I don't know. But again, as a junior, like as the newest person there, they do try to explain to you why you're doing certain things, but it takes a lot of time. Your day-to-day job is literally filling in templates, spell checking documents, Excel sheets, and if you're lucky, attending meetings, right? Of course, just by being in contact with this stuff, like with these documents, you do pick up bits and pieces. You ask a question, they do answer, but what if in those 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours of work, you read up on the topic yourself? That's what I was doing. And that's where I got most of my answers. At least answers to questions that I wanted answers, if that makes sense. I hope it does. But that was the situation for me. And of course, practical experience did help me. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and say it didn't. Even though it wasn't really helpful, like really relevant to what I was looking to learn, the job experience did help me, of course. But as everything, it's a trade-off. There's opportunity cost. In a corporate job, you learn how to talk to people. You learn to master office politics. There's a big relational skill that can be built there, delegating and talking to people, to your superiors, to your peers, and that just staying at home and studying does not give you the chance to learn, right? So if you're in the office, you have all these little micro skills that you can learn if you decide to. Whereas if you stay at home, you don't. But could I be spending my time more efficiently? So I thought that yes, I could spend my time more efficiently. But obviously, a service-based business, it's not just about the service delivery. Like, so what if I know how to, file some stuff for some big banks? Like, if you think about it, in a service-based business, if, you're a digital entrepreneur, if you run a service-based business, it's not just about the service. It's about knowing how to take a sales call. It's about appointment setting. It's about sending the cold DM or, running the ad. It's about, making engaging Loom videos. It's about keeping a good client relationship. And that's what I'm spending my time on right now, learning to do. I can briefly mention money as well. It wasn't a lot, but obviously not having your salary is another opportunity cost. Like, every month that I spend not making £2,000 to £3,000 is money lost, right? But the idea is that when in 12 months you're making 10 grand instead of 2 or 3, all of a sudden it was worth it as well from the money side. So that was point number one. Point number two here is people around me, the people inside. So where do I start? The people at my company were very good people. Okay, don't get me wrong. They were very diligent workers. I need to pass my exam. I can't upset my manager. But I had the impression they were not ambitious, okay? I'm not talking so much about my team, but just the whole graduate pool, the students, the people my age in the company. It was people who didn't want to be there, and I don't blame them. Like, I was the exact same way. I didn't want to be there, and I didn't know exactly what I was there for in the beginning. And maybe this was just an impression, right? I didn't spend much time with these people. Maybe I'm just rude, I didn't get enough time to get to know them properly. But my first impression, just honest first impression, was this. We could say, if we really wanted to, it was a different type of ambition, maybe. Like, these people, they're happy to do all the work, get the visibility from the manager, and fair enough, that's how it works in a big company. You get noted, that's how you get promoted, that's how you get your pay raises, that's how you get status inside of these companies. So I don't blame them. But the thing is, there is no one that is completely obsessed about climbing the corporate ladder. No one's like, oh, I want to be the CEO of this company. I want to make partner. Like, that's my dream. Most people have no idea why they have a job in audit or tax. They don't like tax. Their degree was in film studies, right? Or history. They're just like, oh, I applied, I got in, it's a big company, my dad is happy. I guess this is what I'm doing. But I don't blame them. I don't blame them. It's almost impossible to work hard on something that you don't enjoy. When there is no why, you can't work hard. There's no working hard if there's no why. Like, why are you doing it? To get my paycheck. Okay, is that a person that's going to give it everything? No chance. Now, I have moved to Thailand a couple of weeks ago. Okay, I've moved to Koh Samui, New Island, started my online business. And if I compare the graduates back in these corporations, and this is not just in mine, I'm talking in general, like people coming out from uni and applying to these graduate jobs. If I compare those people to some of the people I've met here, and obviously I'm not talking locals, I'm talking young expats in their 20s who left their home country to come and work here, right? On their online business or, something else. Instead of going down the traditional path of getting the job, the graduate scheme. And I've seen that there's absolutely no comparison. Like the people here, like these expats in the 20s, they're driven, ambitious, with a clear goal in ridiculous shape. That's so interesting as well. There was this guy I was talking to today, right, my jiu-jitsu class. He's my age, actually a few months younger, and he wakes up at 6 a.m. He doesn't even brush his teeth, and he just starts working. Just think about that for a second. He doesn't brush his teeth. Wakes up, he's all dizzy, alarm goes off, go to the laptop, and he starts working. Think about that. And you could argue that's unhealthy, oh, that's sad, that's unhealthy, and maybe it is. But what I see here, what I see in this person is someone with a clear goal who's willing to sacrifice everything for this goal. He's willing to sacrifice anything to make it happen. And those are the people who I resonate with, really. It's a completely different mindset of sacrificing, of taking the risk, of failing, of learning, and then overcoming those failures thanks to the things that you've learned. And it's not pretty. Like waking up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday to work. Who does that? Do you do that? I don't do it even. Unless you're working for, Citibank. And that's because you have to, not because they want to. No one does that. Turns out, really ambitious people do. And there's quite a few of them here. And I know I've said it already, but everyone of the expats here is in ridiculous shape. Like people in their 20s, mums, dads in their 30s or 40s, even a few elderly people, everyone is just in shape. It's crazy. And it just shows the discipline of these people. It's insane. That's something that struck me that I didn't really connect the dots, but it just makes sense. If you're disciplined in your training in that area of life, then you're probably also disciplined in another. But anyways, yeah. I think, of course, it's not black and white. There are driven people in the UK. There are lazy fucks in Thailand who come to Thailand. I'm sure you watching in the UK are super ambitious. Of course you are. Or maybe you agree with my analysis and with what I've seen, that the people in these companies are not really ambitious. In fact, if you experience this environment, if you worked at the Big Four, in London or anywhere else in Europe, and let me know what you think, what you've experienced with a comment. But yeah, that's it. Anyways, these were my two main reasons why I quit the job at the Big Four: learning and people. All right, thanks for watching. Bye bye.